Hello, Shalom Aleichem. Okay, first thing I want to thank everybody who showed up for coming on time. That's the first thing we want to do, right? Okay, so we are we're in Mishna 2:4, Pirke Avot, second Pirke, fourth Mishna, and I've split it up to go through it. It turns out that it seems like it's going to be 7 parts, this one Mishna. We're up to part number 6. And B'ezrat Hashem will have part number 7 next week. And that will be the last week for a while because we're off now, Bein Hazmanim. It's also the week after is Erev Tisha B'Av, which I hope we don't have to have. We'll have Mashiach before, but the assumption that we made, there's no way I can give a shir then. So it won't be again until B'ezrat Hashem Elul Zman. We'll have everybody, we'll find out about exactly when, and we'll keep in touch. So we have tonight, well, for you, it's the morning. We have the shir now, and then we have the shir next week to finish off the Mishnah. Very convenient, very nice of a Kodesh Baruch Hu to have it come out so that we're not hanging in the air in the middle of a Mishnah. Okay, Moshe, you want to just give that introduction and then I'll start.
Yes. Ok, entonces, bueno, estamos, muy buenos días a todos. Dice el Rab que agradece a todos ustedes que en particular llegaron temprano a la clase. Vamos a iniciar con esta clase respecto a la Mishna. Estamos en la Mishna número 2, perdón, la Mishna 4 del Perek, del capítulo 2 del Pirke Avot. En verdad es una Mishnah que el Rab ha dividido en varias partes, aproximadamente, o bueno, estamos viendo 7 partes de ella. Hoy vamos a iniciar la parte número 6 y B'ezrat Hashem la semana que viene, antes de Tisha B'Av, esperamos por supuesto no haya Tisha B'Av este año, sino que se reconstruye el Bet HaMikdash. Pero bueno, un día antes tenemos también clase. De allí, vamos a tener un espacio sin clase, probablemente hasta Elul. Al Rab no le va a ser posible dar la clase siguiente. Y una vez estando allí, pues bueno, ya continuamos con el resto de las Mishnayot y continuamos con la clase. Entonces empezamos el día de hoy. Go ahead. Please.
Okay. All right. So let's read this part of the Mishnah here now. Let's see. Va'al toma dava she'i efsha lishmoa shesofo lishma. Okay, so what does it mean? This part of the Mishnah says, don't say anything unless it's fully understood. The full meaning and the implications of it are understood immediately. Don't start to continue on something if the beginning isn't understood immediately. Okay, Rav Moshe, let's get that yesod.
Okay, empezamos entonces diciendo, estamos en ya el final de esta expresión en la cuarta Mishnah. Nos dice, no digas algo que pueda ser perdón, no digas no digas algo hasta que no se pueda entender, confiando en que al final se entenderá. No digas, cuando tenga tiempo libre, estudiaré. Entonces nos dice el Rab también, esto implica no hagas o no digas algo a menos que entiendas el sentido de ello de inmediato. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so the first question that should come to our ears is, why not? Why shouldn't I learn whatever I can learn now, learn something, and then later on, I'll fill in and understand more about it? Why shouldn't I, right now, I have something that can be told over to me? Why shouldn't I take the advantage of that? And then later on, I'll take care of knowing more. So I'll tell you the basic answer to the question. The basic answer, the idea of this concept that Hillel is trying to tell us, is that if it's not clear now, if you don't understand now exactly what's going on, then as you go on later on, it'll get all distorted and confused and will become a big mess and might not turn out to be at all what it was supposed to be. Because it's very easy for confusion to set in. So that's the basic idea. Things have to be right in the foundation at the very beginning. We don't say, well, I'll fix it up later. No, you do that, the building, if the foundation is no good, the building can collapse. So that's the basic idea. We'll go into some more now detail in the Meforshim. Okay, Rav Moshe?
Bueno, entonces, básicamente nos dice aquí la Mishnah, una persona no tome ventaja de algo que todavía no entiende. Por ejemplo, está por compartir algo, estudió algo, o una situación en particular y la expone. Y dice, bueno, lo voy a hacer ahorita porque me conviene hacerlo. Pero la persona en realidad no tiene un buen conocimiento, no entiende bien el concepto, entonces le resulta en contra. ¿Por qué? No quiere decir que después lo vas a entender. Al contrario, como no tiene un buen fundamento, la persona no entendió bien de qué se trata, al final se va a hacer todo un balagán. Entonces, dice, en principio, el fundamento tiene que ser firme, tiene que haberlo entendido bastante bien para que pueda ser expuesto de entrada con claridad. Go ahead, please.
Okay. So the Meforish, the Rav, that we've spoken about many times, one of the later, earlier on the border Achronim, Rav, the Bartanora, he explains that this Mishnah is cautioning, is speaking specifically to teachers. That could be Rav Moshe, and that's me. We have to be very, very, very careful. Teachers, we have to make sure that the lesson that we're giving over is very clearly understood. There's no room for confusion. Can't make it that it'd be possible there'll be a mess up. Can't speak in a way that's not clear, vague, or what we call ambiguous in English. Maybe it's like that. Maybe he meant like this. No. We can't have a Talmud or a student not sure of exactly what we're saying. That's in particular that what we have to worry about. And we can't say, well, the Talmud will analyze it later. He'll look into it and then he'll clarify and then he'll understand what I meant. No. That could be too late. We'd be causing tremendous amount of trouble. So the Bartanura wants us to know that this is very particularly relevant to teachers. Okay, Rav Moshe?
Ok, nos trae entonces el Rav Ovadia de Bartenura, que es el comentarista por excelencia de la Mishnah. Él nos dice que esta Mishnah, o esta parte de la Mishnah en específico, nos viene para los expositores, dice el Rav, tal vez para nosotros que tenemos la oportunidad de exponer en clases y demás. Y por supuesto ustedes que Bezrat Hashem en algún momento también tengan la oportunidad de exponer en clases y demás estos temas, ¿no? Entonces nos dice aquí que cuando uno va a explicar alguna cosa, no debe haber un espacio para el error, es decir, tiene que estar muy, muy bien entendido todo el tema, porque el expositor, el maestro, tiene que dar el conocimiento de una forma clara, no ambigua o vaga. No puedes tener a un estudiante que está hablando, a un maestro, cuando no está seguro de lo que sabe. O que diga, bueno, después busco de qué se trata mientras habla. ¿Por qué? Porque para cuando él vaya a aclarar su duda, probablemente ya la información agarró por otro lado, ya hizo el daño que no debió haber hecho. Es decir, la gente se confundió, la gente empezó a hablar de esto y dio la información de una forma inadecuada.
Should go? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Now the Magen Avos, as well as the Rav, and Rav Rabbeinu Bachia, they put a certain stress over here that's very, very important. that this is particularly a very, very big problem when it's coming to teach concepts of Emunah and B'tachon. When we're involved in belief, trying to teach over somebody about Jewish belief, real belief, now we're running into great danger. Because if the lesson gets distorted, if the lesson is not understood at the beginning and goes off, we could be sending somebody, chas v'sholom, sending somebody in a terrible direction that's connected to fundamentals of the Torah. They may come out with a very, very wrong shot on what they're supposed to be doing in life. So it's very, very, what we call dark, very thin. There's a thin line we have to watch out for. It's very delicate. When you teach somebody about what it means to believe in a Kodesh Baruch Hu, or any of these Yesodos, these fundamentals of Yiddishkeit, it's very, very stressed over here by these Meforshim, that in that case, it's particularly difficult and particularly dangerous, which is why we see that our great poskim who have to tell us what's the right halacha, what's the right way to go to a Kodesh Baruch Hu, and how to behave and how to act and what's the correct way to say a bracha and what is the bracha and when we should get up and how we should dress and everything else, so that we can connect to a Kodesh Baruch Hu. It's all part of believing in a Kodesh Baruch Hu. And we have to be very, very careful. And you see that the poskim are very, very careful about giving a psak halacha. Very careful. They make sure they understand everything that was said by all the Rishonim and the Achronim, the Tanoim, the Amoraim, before they give a psak, because this could lead you somewhere. And that's not right, chas v'sholom. And they make sure that it's clear when they give you the psak halacha. Do you understand it? You know exactly what it means? You don't say, okay, he basically gets it. He'll look inside a book. He'll figure it out at the rest. If he doesn't know, no such thing. We don't want anything taken at the beginning that's not clearly understood at the beginning. Okay, Rav Moshe.
Ok, el Magen Avot también, como Rav y Rav Yerachmiel, nos dicen que esto es un problema grande que puede surgir. En particular cuando hay una exposición respecto de, por ejemplo, Emuná y Bitachon. Si una persona quiere enseñarle algo, tiene cierto alumno o alumnos, allí es un gran peligro modificar, cambiar o tener una idea no clara respecto de lo que se está enseñando. ¿Por qué? Porque si una persona no entiende desde un principio muy claramente el concepto, en particular en temas de emuná y bitajón, es decir, creer en Hashem, la persona puede básicamente caerse al precipicio. ¿Por qué? Pueden sacar el pshat erróneo, el sentido o la explicación errónea del concepto que se está desarrollando. Y hay una línea muy delgada que puede complicar muchísimo la vida de la persona, es muy peligroso. Por eso precisamente cuando uno lee los libros de Halajá, nuestros poskim, no sé, ya llamaron Bet Yosef, Shulchan Aruch, el Mishna, todos estos libros donde los jajamim poskim, es decir, dictaminan las halajot que marcan nuestra vida diaria, como rezar, como hacer brajot, como vestir, son extremadamente cuidadosos, porque tienen que conocer perfectamente bien todo el espectro de la ley, porque de no hacerlo podrían ocasionar problemas terribles. Y por eso una persona que va a otorgar cierta información, lo primero que tiene que saber es todas las particularidades de esa halajá antes siquiera de compartirla, y no hablar de algo que no es claro para él o ella. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. This is a reason why there have been a few times I asked that the tzibur over here, those who are listening, give me feedback. Because I'm very concerned, chas v'sholom, that I should say something that's not quite understood and that doesn't go in very good to you. and that can cause you any kind of confusion, because it's a very, very big responsibility to teach Torah. It's a big responsibility. Rav Moshe knows what I'm talking about. Every time you say something to somebody, you know that Kodesh Baruch Hu is listening to, he's watching you, he's wondering if you represent him and his desires for the Jewish people correctly. It takes a lot of preparation, a lot of care, and of course, it takes what we call siyata dishmaya. We need help from heaven that we should do correct, not do wrong. That's why there have been times when I've asked, among other reasons, but one of the reasons, to see if I'm getting feedback that says, I don't know what you're talking about. It's confused. I wish you could make it clearer. So far, I thank Kodesh Baruch Hu and all of you who have responded. I've gotten very, very nice feedback saying that it's clear and helpful. Okay, Rav Moshe.
Porque nos dice lo que también por esta es la razón en la que de repente ustedes han escuchado que el Rab pide un poquito de retroalimentación o su opinión respecto de las clases para saber si las clases se han entendido, si han sido confusas o la opinión básicamente de ustedes. ¿Por qué? Dice el Rab, no quiere que haya confusión. En verdad, una persona tiene que tener muchísimo respeto a la hora de enseñar Torah. Porque cada vez que sale algo de tu boca, básicamente Hashem está allí viendo, escuchando, y se pregunta, a ver, lo que vas a decir me representa de entrada, es lo que yo opino, y también si eso es lo que representa al pueblo de Israel, si es correcto. Por lo tanto, en principio tenemos que preparar, cualquier persona que va a exponer, tiene que preparar y tener cuidado. Por supuesto, tiene que pedir ayuda para tener siatada y shumayá, es decir, tener ayuda del cielo para hacer lo correcto. Por ello, dice el Rab, de vez en cuando me acerco con ustedes y les pregunto, ¿se ha entendido lo que estamos exponiendo en la clase? Y bueno, hasta hoy sigo agradeciendo a Kadosh Baruj Hu lo que ustedes me dicen, que Baruch Hashem ha sido claro y ha sido de ayuda. Go ahead, please.
Okay. You have to realize that teaching something as well as listening, when you're listening, you have to be very sure when you listen to something that you understand it. Not only that what I say I made clear, but you understand in your head that it's clear. You have to think, did I get it? Did I get that? It's very, very important. You can't say, it's no big deal. I'll get it straightened out later. No. We're trying to come close to Kodesh Baruch Hu. We don't think a lot of times, I heard a wrong idea, so it's no big deal. I'm not going to let it go into my head. Oh, we have this great friend, Yetzirah, who's very happy to have it go into your head. That's his job. As soon as he hears that wrong idea, he puts it on an arrow and he goes, psh, psh, go into the guy's head. That's great. That's exactly what I was looking for. He made it easy for me. I didn't even have to come up with a new idea. This other guy already said something that the person didn't understand right, or the person heard something and didn't clarify that they don't understand. That's going to cut us away. We can't say it's no big deal. Oh, no. Your whole life is dependent on it. And it can drive you, chas v'sholem, away from your olam haba. All ideas that are heard in the head and understood incorrectly. So we don't want to take the chance that at the beginning, maybe it's not the Seder, but eventually at the end, it'll become clear. No, because it could become confused and already make a very, very big blemish, a big problem for you forever. Okay, Moshe, we pray it shouldn't happen.
Ok, dice entonces así el Rab, escuchar algo que no entendiste es ya un problema, pero también es problema cuando una persona
Sí,
¿cómo se llama? No nada más lo que dijo el expositor, sino lo que la persona entendió. Uno definitivamente no puede decir después, "Ah, luego lo estudio o luego voy a hacer un repaso de esto y me va a quedar claro, luego lo enderezo básicamente, sino que la persona tiene que caminar
yeah,
derecho al
we didn't
respecto.
hear all.
O de repente si dice, escuché un concepto que no entendí o algo de repente malo que escuchó por ahí, es decir, bueno, no es ningún problema. Porque el Yetzer hará se va a encargar de que sea un problema. Tan pronto la persona entienda algo mal o reciba un concepto erróneo, el Yetzer hará es como una flecha que va a lanzar directo al cerebro de la persona para que se incruste ahí. Entonces, cuando algo no está claro, esto va a crecer de esa manera y se va a empezar a hacer una maraña de malas ideas para repercutir después incluso en el Olam Abba de la persona, porque todo lo que se lleva son un montón de conceptos mal entendidos. Y por supuesto, nadie se quiere aventar el volado, como decimos, tomar chances en eso, es decir, que el final de la vida sea todo una maraña de cosas que no se entendieron bien. Definitivamente no puede decir la persona, voy a entender, aunque no lo entienda bien, luego se va a interesar. ¿Por qué? Porque puede causar un problema grande que repercuta por la eternidad. Okay, go ahead, please.
Okay, now we translated a particular word in the Mishnah. I'm going to say it again so it can be understood in a certain way. And there are some Mephoshim who say to translate it another way because there are two meanings of it that are in common use. So again, I'll read for you the part that is shaykh to us. It says, V'al tomar dava, don't say something, she'iev shah, that's not possible, lishmoa, that's the word, lishmoa. B'sofo, that's not possible to understand. Lishmoa means to understand. And b'sofo lishma, that it in the end won't be understood. But lishmoa also means very literally to hear, to have sound go into my ear. We're using it in the concept of to understand, to make knowledge take place in me, to have something said over that I can now understand. That's what we've spoken about up until now. But there are those who say, no, it means that sound goes into my head. Now we have to lishmo. What does that mean? How does that help us in the Mishnah? Okay, so we're going to talk about that in a second, what it means. Okay, Rav Moshe, please introduce the idea, and then I'll explain how it works.
Ok, entonces, vamos a ver, en verdad, esta expresión que tenemos en la Mishnah tiene dos posibles traducciones. Por eso hace ratito me estaba un poco mareado. La primera de ellas es como nos dijo el Rab, que no expongas o no digas algo hasta que estés completamente seguro de lo que significa. Y no digas, bueno, al final yo lo voy a entender, aunque no lo hayas entendido todavía. Porque también se puede traducir así. No digas algo que no puede ser entendido confiando que al final se va a entender. Es decir, al exponer, al compartir algún tipo de información y no se entendió, no digas, luego, no sé, que estudien a ver cómo le hacen, pero lo van a entender. Porque hay un peligro, hay un riesgo grande en todo ello. Go ahead.
Okay, so here's what it means when we take it, what we call literally, exactly what the word says to hear. It's common for someone to say, did you hear what he meant? Did you hear it? Did you hear it? Right? Or someone said, only Hashem knows everything you hear. You hear. Goes in, whatever goes in. Or I want you to hear me loud and clear. I want you to hear me. I want you listening. I want the sound to go in. I want you to hear me. So they're understanding over here that hear actually means how the ear takes sound in. And the Mishnah means don't say anything, don't talk, assuming that nobody will hear it. Don't think that what you say is private. It'll be heard. Be very, very careful about what you say. Don't think you can say something that won't be heard. The sound won't go into somebody else's ear. Okay, and I'll give more detail in a moment. All right, Rav Moshe?
Ok. Entonces, si agarramos literal esta expresión, podríamos también traer ciertas otras expresiones que se dicen comúnmente. Por ejemplo, cuando una persona dice, oye, ¿lo escuchaste? O cuando dice así, solamente Hashem sabe lo que escuchó o lo que escuchaste. O cuando dices, quiero que me escuches bien, me escuches fuerte y claro. Entonces, entendemos que escuchar es, probablemente esto sea muy, muy simple, ¿no? Es como el oído toma aquello que alguien otorga. Entonces, la Mishnah lo que nos quiere venir a decir es, no hables asumiendo que nadie te va a escuchar. No creas que la conversación que tienes es privada y porque al final de cuentas alguien la va a escuchar. No pienses que no va a ser así, sino que algún oído en algún lugar seguro está escuchando lo que dices.
Okay?
Yes.
The Mishnah is telling us, it's talking about secrets, telling a secret. We have to be very careful about telling secrets. Because ultimately, your secret's going to come out. We're going to explain a little bit more what some of the Meforshim say, how it will come out. But that's what Hillel is telling us. Be very careful when you're telling a secret. Somebody's going to hear it. Somebody's going to know about it. The Rashi, Rabbeinu Yonah, they learn that we should read this part of the Mishnah like this. Do not repeat anything that should not be heard. Don't say anything you don't want somebody to hear. There's nothing to do with understanding now. Just hearing it. Don't say anything that you don't want somebody to hear. Don't say it. It's trouble. Because you know why? Because ultimately, in the end, it'll be heard. Okay, Rav Moshe.
Okay, la Mishnah nos dice, nos está hablando en este momento sobre los secretos que la persona podría llegar a exponer. Hay que tener cuidado al decir secretos de la persona o de alguien más, porque al final termina todo el mundo sabiendo al respecto. Los mefarshim, los comentaristas de la Mishnah, nos dicen cómo uno tiene que tener cuidado al lidiar con secretos, porque de esto algo va a terminar sabiéndose. Rashi, por ejemplo, y Rabbeinu Yonah también nos dicen que lo que tenemos que entender es que no repitamos nada que no quieres que se escuche o nada que no quieres que termine siendo público. No lo vayas a decir, eso es un problema grande porque al final, si la persona le cuenta, lo dice, lo repite, alguien va a terminar enterándose de aquello que nadie quiere que se entere. Go ahead.
Okay. Very dangerous stuff. Rabbeinu Yonah says, don't even tell a secret to your closest friend. Oh, he's my close friend. What do I have to worry about? He's not going to say anything. Oh, boy. We're very, what we call naive. We believe a lot of things. You'll be surprised how the Yetzer Hara could work on somebody to reveal your secret. It's like a big urge. This person told me this thing, and I can't let it out. It's driving me crazy. I can tell it to so-and-so. He's trustworthy. He's faithful. He won't say it. It'll only be somebody else who knows it, but it doesn't matter because he's a good friend of the one who told it to me. All kinds of reasons. Says the Rabbeinu Yonah, no, don't tell it even to your closest friend, assuming that it won't be revealed. It may very well be revealed. It'll be told over. In fact, and this is amazing. He says, don't even say a secret out loud, even in an empty room. You have an empty room, there's nobody in there. Don't say it. You're all by yourself. And you're thinking something, and now you start to talk. You don't want to just think it, you want to say it. You want to say, all of a sudden, I don't want anybody to know that I just got $1 million. You say it out loud. Don't say it. Don't say it. Watch out. Even though you're by yourself. Don't assume that no one will hear it. There's a popular saying. Rav Moshe hopefully will translate it, and maybe it's said over there, but it's very popular. We say the walls have ears. The walls have ears. All these walls has ears. The walls have ears when it comes to secrets. When it comes to secrets, all of a sudden there's ears on the wall. Be very, very careful. Okay, Rav Moshe.
Ok, entonces nos dice el Rav que es muy peligroso que la persona hable todos estos secretos. ¿Verdad? Nos dice, ni siquiera le digas un secreto a tu mejor amigo, a la persona más cercana. Porque de repente somos ingenuos y llegamos a pensar, no, esta persona nunca me va a traicionar, o esta persona es mi mejor amigo. ¿Por qué? Sorpresa, el Yetzer Hara seguro puede generar esto. Y de repente a tu mejor amigo lo empieza a volver loco esta información que le dijiste, y él va a decir, bueno, es que no puedo con este secreto, tengo que contárselo a mi mejor amigo. Y este se lo cuenta a otro mejor amigo. Y ese mejor amigo tampoco va a poder, se lo va a tener que contar a su otro mejor amigo. Y al final ya todos se enteraron del chisme. ¿Por qué? Porque tú no pudiste cerrar la boca. Rabenu Yonah nos dice así, no le digas un secreto ni a tu mejor amigo asumiendo que no lo va a decir. De hecho, dice, ni siquiera lo digas en voz alta en un cuarto cuando estés solo. Aunque estés tú solito en el cuarto, no hay nadie más allí. Y solo por hablar por hablar te salen los secretos. Vas a decir, o sea, estás en el cuarto y dices, me gané $1 millón. Si lo dices en voz alta, asumiendo que nadie está ahí. ¿Por qué? Todos conocemos esa frase tan popular que dice, las paredes tienen oídos. Y entonces el Rab voltea para todos lados y dice, no sé, tal vez una u otra de las paredes ya va a tener orejas, ¿no? Sabemos que no es literal, pero pues bueno, ya la tecnología nos enseñará lo contrario. Ok, go ahead, please.
Okay, see, I already made a mistake. Wanted to make sure that things are clear, and I already made a mistake. So I'm going to correct it right now. I said $1 million, I meant 1,000,000 shekels, right? Because when I give you a bracha, it's for shekels. So I'm going to give it to you right now. I don't want to forget later. All of you, B'ezrat Hashem, should at some time in your life be able to see and use 1,000,000 shekels for your avodas Hashem. It's just first correction. Moshe, please correct that, and then I'll go on, okay?
Okay, dice el Rab, hablando de correcciones, dice ya, cometí un error y tengo que corregirlo. Justo esta es la idea. Es decir, recién te das cuenta si hubo un error al entender o al decir, tienes que corregir inmediatamente. El Rab dice que la persona dijo $1 millón. No, tiene que ser 1 millón de shekels, porque todas las berajot que nos da el Rab cada miércoles que tenemos la clase de Pirke Avot son en shekels, entonces como a $100, tenemos que hablar en shekels. Por lo tanto, que todos tengamos alguna oportunidad, en algún momento la oportunidad de saber que en la bolsa está el 1 millón de shekels, y por supuesto, cuando sea así, hay que quedarse callado al respecto. Ok, go ahead.
Okay. Now it says in Koheles, right? Rav Shlomo HaMelech Sal says in the 10th parak, okay, number 20, it says like this. It says, curse not the king. Don't put a curse on the king. Don't say something that would spiritually cause him to fall. Don't curse the king. Not in your thoughts. We're not even talking now. Thinking. Don't think bad things about the king. And don't curse people who are rich. Don't curse rich people. Even when you're in your bedroom, your bedchamber. Why? Because Koheles tells us, for a little bird, a bird who's up in the air, a bird in the air will carry the voice. And we're talking about even if I just thought about it, and yet he calls it a voice. A voice is something that has to come out of my mouth. There's a bird, and then he finishes and says, some kind of a winged flying object, something, some creature will betray you and say over what you said, what you thought. Koheles warns us about this. Even when you're in your bedroom, don't think about it. And in particular, a king or a rich man. Okay, I'll explain what the Meforshim say, why a king, what a rich man, what's a bird, whatever. Rav Moshe first explained what the pasuk says, right? Just the way he tells us, curse not the king, not in your thoughts, curse not the rich, in your bed chamber, for a bird in the air shall carry the voice, and some winged creature may betray the matter. That's what it says in Koheles.
Okay, el Ram nos trae un pasuk en Kohelet, en el capítulo 10, el pasuk 20 parece que es, donde nos dice, no maldigas al rey, ni maldigas al rico. ¿Por qué hay como un pajarito, ni siquiera en un cuarto en privado? Porque va a venir una especie de ave y va a llevar aquello que dijiste, le va a contar, o una especie de ser alado, con alas, va a venir y también va a llevar esta información. Ahora, el punto aquí es no maldecir al rey, hablar algún tipo de palabras que espiritualmente hagan que caiga. Si ni siquiera en tus pensamientos, tampoco al hombre rico, incluso cuando estés en tu habitación. Nos va a traer el Rab a continuación los comentaristas que hablan respecto de este pasuk en Kohelet, en donde el rey Shlomo nos trae esta expresión bastante curiosa. Okay, go ahead, please.
Okay. So we'll take them one at a time. Why does it talk about rich? Somebody who's got a lot of money, rich. Why do we have to worry especially about the rich? So one of the Rishonim, who lived about 750 years ago, maybe, called the Ralbag. I don't know if I don't believe I mentioned him yet. Okay, in this Pirke Avot shiur, but nevertheless, there's a great Rishon called the Ralbag, and he says that people who have a lot of money, people who are wealthy, so they gain like a high status. They go up in government, they go up in politics, they go up in all kinds of special high places, and they look at themselves as very, very great. And if you say something that about them, they hear something about themselves, they get very angry. In English, you say they get vindictive. They're going to get even with you. Rich people can't handle it. They're going to get even with you because they look at themselves as a tremendous amount of gaiva, arrogance, that the Ralbag says it's part of being rich. I'm special now. I'm rich. You're talking about me. So if you say a secret, or you think something about them that could get out, it's a particularly bad trouble because they're rich. Okay, that's what the Ralbag says. Why the pasuk in Koheles mentioned rich people. Okay, you want to say over that?
Yes. Okay, entonces vamos a ver uno por uno respecto a los comentaristas. De entrada, ¿por qué habla de un hombre rico? ¿Por qué tendríamos que preocuparnos en especial? Bueno, nos dice uno de los Rishonim, él se llama el Ralbag. No habíamos escuchado de él, es la primera vez que nos habla, es un jajá muy grande, uno de los Rishonim, más o menos el medioevo. Ahora, nos dice que la gente que tiene mucho dinero, la gente rica, también tiene un estatus elevado en diferentes ramas de la sociedad, de la política, el gobierno, etcétera. Tienen un lugar especial y por supuesto se ven a sí mismos como gente especial, en sentido de grandeza. Y si se dice algo de ellos, una maldición, o sea, si se habla mal de ellos, ellos se ponen vengativos. Es decir, la gente rica normalmente no va a dejar pasar insultos que se le hagan. Un poquito parte de ser ricos. Es decir, estás hablando de mí, yo te doy derecho a hablar de mí. Y además lo toma muy a pecho. Es decir, el hecho de que se hable mal de un rico va a generar todavía más problemas que con una persona común y corriente. Go ahead, please.
Okay. Now, of course, why it says don't talk about a king, you don't have to be a very great Talmud Chacham to understand that. Because if what you think or say about a king gets revealed, so off with your rosh. That's it. He finishes you up. You don't ever talk about the leader who has power, the leader of a government who has power. He has the power to chas v'sholem hurt you, harm you, kill you, chas v'sholem. You keep quiet. And we were warned, don't even think about it. Well, that needs a little bit of understanding. I mean, I'm only thinking about it. Nobody's gonna know what I'm thinking about. So how does that work? And the reason for that is because eventually our friend Yetzer Hara will take the thoughts that are in your mind and have you just say it. You won't be able to keep it in your mind. He'll squeeze it out of you. And then the walls have ears. And there's somebody sitting outside listening in through the window. And everything you think doesn't happen can happen. So here we're talking again, Hillel's telling us so far in the Mishnah that it means to hear, to really hear, not to understand. Different pshat. Okay, Rav Moshe?
Ok, ahora, cuando nosotros hablamos respecto a un rey, las cosas son mucho más claras y obvias. Es decir, básicamente la cabeza de la persona está de por medio al hablar mal del presidente, del rey o de un líder del gobierno. ¿Por qué? Seguro tiene poder para lastimar a la persona. Entonces, ahí sí mejor es quedarse callado y no meterse en problemas. Ahora, esto incluye el pensar en ello. Y uno podría pensar, bueno, si está pensando solamente en ello, pues ¿cuál es el problema? Es decir, solamente está en la cabeza, ¿quién se va a enterar? Y la razón es porque eventualmente tu buen amigo, el Yetzer Hara, ¿qué va a hacer? Te va a decir, oye, díselo a alguien, lo que estás pensando necesita ser compartido. Seguramente todos piensan igual que tú. Y ahí te vas a meter en problemas. ¿Por qué? Incluso si lo dices nada más en privado, ese es el preámbulo. De ahí va a agarrar camino y va a enterarse todo el mundo de que tú estás diciendo tales cosas del gobierno y por supuesto esto mete a la persona en un montón de problemas. Okay, go ahead, please.
Okay. Now, the Metzudas David lived about 350 years ago. Actually, there's two Metzudas Davids, but this is the one we need right now. The other one was earlier. This one gives Perush on Tanakh. So he says on this part of Koheles, where it says a bird in the air, there's a bird in the air, who carried the voice, who carried whatever it was you said. He says what it means is that it goes fast. It'll quickly get there. It'll quickly get to somebody's ears, just like a bird. You think like everything is Beseda. You said something, nobody's around. Guess what? Before you finish exhaling, somebody already knows about it, and that might be even going after you. That's what we hear from the Metzudas David. The government officials are already trying to prosecute you. Okay, Rav Moshe.
Y nos dice entonces el Rab, trae ahora al Metzudat David. El Metzudat David es un comentarista, más o menos de hace 350 años. Él hace un comentario al Tanaj. Ahorita estamos estudiando el Pasuk de Kohelet. Hay otro Metzudat David anterior a ello, pero ahorita estamos viendo al comentarista del Tanaj. Nos dice a qué se refiere decir que un pájaro en el aire va a llevar lo que dices. Significa que va a suceder rápido. Es una alusión a que la información se va muy, muy rápido. En menos de lo que esperas, ya todo el mundo se enteró de lo que dijiste. La información va a llegar de uno a otro y te tardas más en expresarlo que lo que otra gente ya se enteró por aquí y por allá de lo que dijiste. Y por supuesto, de ser así, el gobierno, al enterarse, no va a tardar en perseguir a la persona. Go ahead, please.
Now, the last part said some winged creature, some form that's alive, a creature, an animal, I don't know what, a bird, what? What's different from a creature than a bird? Rashi has pshat, what we hear, some winged creature. What's a winged creature? It's a person. A person is a winged creature because there are people who spend their time running back and forth. They're flying over here and they're flying over there. They want to go over here and say this and say this and say that. They can't. Lashon Hara is a wonderful thing. They live on it. And it's like they're birds flying from tree to tree, from limb to limb. They're all over the place, these winged creatures. And he calls them a creature, I guess, because it's people who behave like that. It's hard to think of them as people, surely not nice people. It's more like, animals, lizards, creatures, cockroaches, people who like to break secrets, people who like to get people in trouble. In English, that's a creature. Sure, Rav Moshe will explain to you what I'm talking about. But that's what Rashi tells us. Creeps, what? Crepes? Okay, anyway, so that's what Rashi says. It's talking about the way in which people, I just heard something great. I got to tell him. I'm going to run over there. Goodbye. I'll see you. I have no time now. I'm running over there. They're just like, can't wait to get from one place to another to cause trouble. Okay, Rav Moshe.
It's called Facebook.
Okay, entonces dice el Raya que cuando nos habla el libro aquí en Kohelet respecto a un tipo de criatura alada, uno podría decir, bueno, ya me dijiste pájaro, ¿por qué tendría que ser diferente? Rashi nos dice que esto se refiere a la persona misma. La persona se considera una criatura alada, en el sentido de que viaja rápidamente de un lugar a otro transmitiendo la información. ¿Por qué? Dice porque básicamente vive de la Shonara. Va de aquí para acá y le dice esto a una persona y le dice a otra persona, como los pájaros, que van de un lado a otro, de una rama a otra rama y están piando aquí, allá, rápido se van de un lugar a otro. Así también la gente que le gusta hablar. Es decir, el punto aquí se compara esto de entrada porque la información vuela rápido o se transmite rápido y además el ser humano en particular le gusta lidiar con la información rápidamente. Por supuesto, el Rav Zalman interviene aquí y dice, fíjate, ahí está lo que significa Facebook, que es hablar, contar, transmitir inmediatamente, rápido, toda la información que se pueda. Go ahead, please.
Okay. Now we have from Rav Shimshon Raphael Hirsch Hatzal, very, very beautiful idea, very beautiful shot. What Hillel wants to convey. He wants to tell us another very, very big yesod that is based on it's not based on the basic shot that we've been saying. It's something that comes along, and he claims that it's really, it encompasses, it says many, many of the things that we said before in a way that's maybe not so understood, but what he wants us to understand is something different. He wants to put a focus on something different. And here's what he says. It's a very, very beautiful idea. He says, when we read the words that say, don't say anything, any word that can't possibly be heard. It means don't think in the end that it won't be heard. And what is he focusing on? He says this Mishnah is connected to the other things that we said in the Mishnah. Now, what do I mean? What did Hillel tell us in the Mishnah? He said earlier that you have to be connected to the community, right? You have to stay with the tzibur. The tzibur will give you chizuk. You'll learn better. That's how you're going to do your avodas Hashem properly, in the tzibur. That's how you'll get your midos tovos. That's how you come to make sure you don't make mistakes. And the Mishnah told us, don't take yourself out of the community. Stay in the community. Don't be sure of yourself before you die. We spoke about that. Before the last day of your death. Don't be sure of yourself. He told us, don't judge anybody, the Mishnah said, until you've been in their place. He says, we're talking about keeping ourselves beseder and being set in the community, and we got to keep that community alive. So he says the Mishnah means, don't think that if you have a good idea, something that you know will keep the community together, that it's the right thing for the whole community. Don't think that you should give up saying it. Just the opposite. Say it. Don't think that you should give up saying it because you think nobody is going to hear it. Everybody's going to say, get out of here. I heard that already. He says, don't give up if it's true. And you know you're doing it for avodas Hashem. And you know that you're not saying it because of you. You're saying it for the community. Then it's important to build the community and stay with the community. And you should never quit. No matter how long it takes, keep saying it. Because the Yetzer Hara will tell you nobody will hear it. And he's saying, no, don't give up saying something that cannot be heard in the end means in the end, it'll be heard. If you don't stop, it will be heard in the end. So Rav Shimshon Raphael Hirsch Hatzal is connecting this to all the other things that are said in the Mishnah about being connected to the community. And you have an obligation to build that community and say what's right for that community and make sure that you can convince anybody who's in there that whatever they think, if the truth is what you're saying, you're not going to stop. You're not going to let them talk you down. Don't think in your mind that something you say cannot be heard means don't think that eventually somebody won't agree with you. They will. If it's true and it's Ratzon Hashem, they will agree with you. So it's a completely different shot. Is it understood? Rav Moshe understood what I was talking about?
Yeah.
Or am I over already on the whole Mishnah?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right,
Okay.
explain that, please.
Okay.
Wait, that was for you.
Rav Zalman said that was for you, Rav Moshe.
Oh. Ok, dice el Rab. Ahora vamos a traer un comentario del Rab Shimshon Rafael Hirsch Shazatzal, que nos quería transmitir Hillel en esta Mishnah también. Muy curioso porque lo agarra y abarca más de la Mishnah en esta expresión. Es un fundamento muy grande que no está basado en el Pshat, en el sentido simple que nosotros estudiamos ahora, sino que abarca un tanto más cosas de las que ya habíamos hablado anteriormente. Cosas que tal vez no habíamos entendido por completo, sino algo diferente. Ahora, cuando nosotros leemos las palabras de la Mishnah, nos dice, no digas algo que no se pueda escuchar, pero velo de otra manera, sino perdón, no digas que algo no se va a poder escuchar, sino que piensa que al final será escuchado. Ahora, esta Mishnah se conecta con lo otro que habíamos hablado en esta misma Mishnah, pero anteriormente. Antes habíamos dicho que teníamos que estar conectados con una comunidad. Básicamente el Sibur, es decir, la comunidad en sí te va a fortalecer. Dentro de la comunidad vas a poder ejercitar tus midot tovot, es decir, los buenos rasgos del carácter. Por supuesto, no es gratis, es decir, la comunidad te va a dar la oportunidad de desarrollarlos. Y la Mishnah nos dice, no te alejes, no salgas de tu comunidad, no te separes, perdón, de ellos, sino que hasta el momento que mueras tienes que ser parte de una comunidad. Ahora, tampoco juzgues a una persona mientras no estés en su lugar, mientras no estés sufriendo aquello que sufre la persona. Y hablamos de todo el orden que tiene que tener una comunidad y mantenerla viva, esforzarse porque la comunidad crezca. Y por supuesto, aquí viene la conexión que hace el Rav Shimshon Rafael Hirsch al respecto, en donde nos dice, no pienses que si hay algo correcto que decirle a la comunidad, tienes que callarte, sino que en verdad hay que decirlo. Una vez que estés completamente seguro, una vez que hayas estudiado la situación, que hayas preguntado, justamente es esto, una vez que estés seguro de lo que tienes que decir, es la cosa correcta que tienes que decir, tienes que hacerlo, en verdad, que es Abodat Hashem, es decir, un servicio por Hashem, y si lo dices por construir y te aseguraste que es lo correcto, hazlo y sigue haciéndolo, porque ahora la interpretación es bien así. El Yeserá te va a decir, no, nunca te van a escuchar. Sin embargo, lo que tienes que entender y estar seguro de ello es que al final, seguro alguien te va a escuchar. Entonces, Rav Shimshon Rafael Hirsch conecta todo lo que se dijo ahí. ¿Por qué tenemos una obligación para nuestra comunidad? Decir las cosas que sabemos a través de probarlas que son correctas. Tenemos la obligación de decirle a la comunidad y no pienses, no, nadie me escucha. Le estoy diciendo una y otra vez que tienen que hacer esto, que tienen que mejorar y nadie me escucha. Dice el Rab, vuélvelo a decir y vuélvelo a decir. ¿Por qué? Al final, incluso que pienses que no se va a escuchar, va a terminar escuchándose. Go ahead, please.
Okay, I'd like to finish. Part of the Mishnah I've spoken about. That's done now. For another few minutes, I just want to tell you an amazing Gemara, a piece of Gemara. What daf are you on now in Daf Yomi? You don't know. Somewhere in noon, something. Yeah. You're in the whole business about Beis Hamikdash and all of that?
Yeah, about the destruction of it.
Okay, fine. So
we just had in a pile of poop, boiling poop.
Okay, fine. Okay, so it's coming up something amazing what I'm about to say now, okay? All right, and we're in Gittin, Gemara Gittin. And I want to tell you a story. There's a story in it that's just astounding because it makes a point that we all have to hear. It's incredible. So there's a little story over there that goes like this. There was a carpenter, and he had a worker. He had somebody working for him. And the carpenter needed money. He paid, he used to pay the worker, but the worker seems had more money than the carpenter. The carpenter had a lot of expenses, and he needed money. So the worker had a great idea. The worker wanted the carpenter's wife.
Oh, yeah, this was today.
Right? Oh, okay.
It was today.
It was today? Okay. Rav Zalman just read this today. He wanted the carpenter's wife. He wanted to have snus. He wanted to have relations with the carpenter's wife. So he had a great idea. He told the carpenter, you know what? I have money I can lend you. Send your wife over to my house, okay? And I'll give her the money and she'll bring it back to you. So the carpenter said, okay. So he sent his wife over to the house to get the money. But she didn't come back for 3 days. So the carpenter said, what's going on over here? I don't understand this. So he went to the worker's house and he said, what happened? I sent my wife over here and she didn't come back yet. He said, I don't know. I gave her the money and she left. He said, but look, I want to tell you something. I heard that after she left, she had some relations with some guys in the street. She went off over there. Now, of course, this wasn't true because he was the one who had relations with her and kept her there in the house. So now the carpenter, he said, well, what am I going to do now? So the worker said, give her a get, divorce her, get rid of her, because he wanted to marry her. Divorce her, get rid of her. So the carpenter said, well, it's not so simple, because when I give her a get, is something called a kasuva. You'll find out in Jewish marriage where you have to put some money down. Should there be a get, there's money you give over to the wife, kasuva. He said, I had very expensive kasuva I promised her, and I don't have no money. As you know, I already owe you money. I don't have the money. So the carpenter's worker said, I'll lend you more money. I'll lend it to you. Give her a get, divorce her, give it, and pay the kasuva. So he did that. He borrowed the money, gave her a get, and paid the kasuva. So, of course, right away, the carpenter's worker married her. And then the carpenter was in big debt to the carpenter's worker. And the carpenter's worker became the master. And he hired the carpenter to work for him. And one day, and the carpenter couldn't pay back the money, he didn't have the money to pay back. So he was under the power of the carpenter's worker. And one day he came into the house where his wife from before was sitting with her new husband, the carpenter's worker. And they were eating and having a great time. And he came in as a worker with no money. And he saw the whole thing, and it hit him very strong how horrible the situation was. And a few tears dropped from his eye and went into their food. Now listen to this. At that moment, there had already been in Shemayim a whole discussion about whether or not and when the base of Migdash should be destroyed. At that moment, it was determined the base of Migdash should be destroyed. That event was so bad, was so terrible, was so awful in a Jewish life that it put the stamp on destroying the base of Migdash. Now, I'm talking about something that in the Goyish world would mean nothing. It's done every 5 minutes and everybody's smiling and laughing. But for a Jew, HaKadosh Baruch Hu removed the base of Migdash. We are now coming closer and closer to Tisha B'Av. We're in a special period now called the 3 weeks, where we have to mourn and we have to realize we want to have that base of Migdash back. And it's not going to come back if we don't act and behave like Jews. We have to behave pure, clean. Look, from an incident like that, we lost everything. That was the seal. It's hard to believe, but that's the difference. Listen carefully. That's the difference between a Jew and a Goy. And for all of us who are Jewish and all of us who want to become Jewish, you have to understand what it is you're trying to achieve. So that's just a little piece of Gemara. The whole Gemara is amazing, as Rav Zalman will agree. Okay, we should all have bracha, that this should go into our hearts. And this is where we should get to. Okay, Rav Moshe.
Ok, tenemos entonces, el Rab quiere terminar hablándonos de una Gemara impresionante que está leyendo el Daf Yomi. El Daf Yomi es una estructura que se lee una hoja de la Gemara diariamente para completar toda la Gemara más o menos en 7 años y medio. Entonces, ahorita están leyendo el tratado de Gitín en una historia impresionante allí. Ahora, nos dice que había cierto carpintero que tenía, no sé, una persona trabajando para él, y el carpintero tenía muchísimos gastos. Tantos gastos tenía que no podía cubrirlos todos, estaban muy angustiados. Ahora, el trabajador suyo quería quedarse, él deseaba estar con la esposa de este carpintero. Y por supuesto quería tener relaciones con ella y demás. Ahora él tuvo una idea, él sí tenía dinero guardado, tenía ahí sus ahorros, y le dijo al carpintero, mira, ¿sabes qué? Vamos a hacer una cosa, yo te presto el dinero, nada más, pues dile a tu esposa que pase a mi casa a traerlo. Entonces el carpintero no sospechó, manda a su esposa por el dinero, y de repente ella no regresó en 3 días. ¿Qué pasó? Por supuesto, se había quedado con el trabajador del carpintero y él ya se preocupó, fue a la casa de este trabajador suyo y le dijo, oye, ¿qué pasó? Yo la mandé, no ha regresado en 3 días. Y su trabajador le dijo, la verdad es que yo no sé qué pasó, ella vino, yo le di el dinero, pero mira, escuché, por supuesto, aquí está hablando Motzi Shemral, se conectó con lo que estamos estudiando con Rav Zalman. Yo escuché que ella se fue con el dinero y de repente se fue con unos tipos en la calle, así de fiesta, y mira, una mujer muy mala, se fue con ellos, todo lo demás. Y entonces el carpintero dijo, pues ahora, ¿qué voy a hacer? Yo no tenía idea que era una mujer tan mala, pues dale el divorcio, le dijo su trabajador. Sin embargo, el carpintero dijo, pero no es tan simple. ¿Por qué en la que tú va que tengo, el documento que se hace siempre que hay un matrimonio, dice que tengo que darle una dote pues bastante grande, yo no tengo dinero para pagarle, tengo un montón de deudas? ¿Qué le dijo entonces el trabajador? Le dijo, no te preocupes, yo tengo todo el dinero guardado, yo te presto el dinero para que le pagues la que tú va. Y así le dio el dinero al carpintero. El carpintero rápido fue, la divorció, ¿y qué pasó? Que su trabajador entonces se casó inmediatamente con ella. Y después, como el carpintero le debía tanto dinero, ahora agarró al carpintero como si fuera su trabajador. Y ahora el carpintero estaba en deuda con esta persona que le quitó a la esposa y ahora le debía tanto dinero. Un día, dice, llegó a su casa y los vio, ellos estaban comiendo, la estaban pasando muy bien, y en ese momento le pegó terriblemente lo que había sucedido y comenzó a llorar. Dice el Rab, la Gemara relata que cayó un par de lágrimas ahí en la comida de estas personas. Dice, en ese momento todavía había discusión en el cielo, el Shamaim, si habría o no que destruirse el Bet HaMikdash, pero al suceder esto, al derramar las lágrimas del carpintero, se selló con un sello que iba a ser destruido el Bet HaMikdash. Es decir, la situación fue tan horrible y terrible que se generó en el cielo la necesidad entonces de determinar la destrucción del Bet HaMikdash. Ahora, dice, en el mundo Goy esto no es fuera de lo común, esto sucede a menudo, ya sucedió con la vecina, ya sucedió con el cuñado, ya sucedió aquí, lo escuchas aquí y allá. Sin embargo, para nosotros esto no es algo que podemos decir, es algo común. No, para nosotros esto determina si tenemos Bet HaMikdash o no, si se destruye toda la base de nuestra religión o no. Por lo tanto, tenemos un montón de trabajo por enfrente, desprendernos de todos estos conceptos que parecían normales, pues son terribles. Y por supuesto, no va a regresar el Bet HaMikdash a menos que nosotros tengamos pureza y seamos limpios. Es difícil de creer, dice el Rab, pero esto es toda la diferencia que hay entre un judío y un goy. Tenemos una meta que perseguir, que es una limpieza, alejarnos de todo este tipo de conductas y perseguir la forma correcta de actuar. Y dice el Rab, nos da una verajá para que estas ideas lleguen a nuestro corazón y las podamos recibir y entender. Go ahead, please.
Shalom Aleichem, that's my go ahead.
Okay. Shalom Aleichem, nos dice el Rab, but they will be waiting for the shekels.
The money, he gave the money earlier with the shekel thing.
Okay, the million.
Right, twice on it.
Whoa,
Whoa, look at that. Already, see what happens? You see, you offer money, they can't even wait 20 minutes. They ask again. 20 minutes later, they want more money.
Okay, dice el Rab. Y respecto, yo como sea, peleé por ustedes. Digo el Rab, ¿qué pasó con los shekels? Dice, los shekels ya se los di hace 20 minutos, entonces ni modo. Dice ¿cómo soy que nada más pasaron 20 minutos y ya quiero más dinero? Entonces, Baruch Hashem, ya nos dio la verajá, que tengamos el millón de shekels en la bolsa y podamos utilizarlos bien. Ok, terminamos con la clase de hoy. Que tengan ustedes muy buen día.
Gracias.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Gracias, Rav. Shalom. Gracias.
Ok, hasta luego.